core part of the CI, right? CI process. So what typically happens in a CI process, right? As I said, a developer who is working on a feature commits a code, right? And once he commits the code, whether it's a front end code or a back end code or anything that he commits, the particular code is picked up, and there is a build process. And the build process, depending on the platform, there's a corresponding tool used to build the code, and then it would go ahead and generate uh, the output file for based on the build. If something goes wrong in the build, example, you have a wrong code and code is not building, then it will fail the CI process and intimate the team that the build has failed, and whoever is a developer, they'll have to fix the code to move ahead. Now, once the build is successful, it will go ahead and run all the unit test cases that you developed. It would generate a report of number of failed and passed test cases, including what is known as a code coverage. Code coverage is, if you have 100 lines of code, how much of those lines are tested as part of your unit test cases. Yeah, if unit test cases execute 80%, 80 lines out of 100 lines, your coverage is 80%. So it generates these reports with respect to pass fail ratio, and then also it generates a unit test coverage report. And then once unit test cases are all unit test cases are passed, there are some process where the code can be reviewed, the code quality, your naming conventions and standard coding standards are validated automatically using various tools and frameworks. And then there's a report generated to know how the new code has with respect to code quality. Once you build a unit test case, code review, everything is a pass, then you have the final output, which is a package, which generates a package and saved as an artifact for future reference. Now, as I said, an artifact can be an output from your build, unit test cases, code review, or the final step of generating the package itself. So anything that you want to share to an external world or external process, you have to convert you have to save that as an artifact for a future access or reference. So, so this is a very basic CI process that you will see or you need to have even before thinking of having any additional features or advanced ideas, right? So this is a CI process, and we'll try to cover tools and various things that various processes or tools that we can use. But this is a high level understanding or what you need to know about a CI process. Now, as I said, the output of a CI is generally an artifact which can be deployed or deployed to a server or deployed to run the application and verify and start using the application. So, so any questions here in the CI process? Anything that anybody have questions?
One question. So,
Yeah.
under the build you put as artifacts, right? And under the build you put as Docker. So, what do you mean by Docker? You're publishing the Docker image, or you're going to
Yes.
run the build?
So yeah, in case it generally, a build generates the output which is deployable to a server, right? If you are using a Docker image, sorry, Docker file, right? If you're using that, the output of a build will be the Docker image, right? So that is what here I mean Docker image, which is then uploaded to your as an artifact, which can be used in the deployment phase. Okay. So yeah, so that's the build, and similarly, other process also generates an artifact. Now again, now this is a standard or a very typical way. Now depending on your application, depending on your tech stack, the steps may change or maybe additional steps for the tech stack, but generally they are grouped under each of these. Right, as I said, as the question was there, sometimes we do a build, and then in the packaging step, we may create an image, right? So, or in some cases, the build itself is generated in Docker image. So it depends on your application and how both are fine, both are correct, and both will work. But it depends on your structure and the code.